Hello there. The Financial Times ran with a story the other day saying, Amsterdam ousts London as Europe's top share trading hub. So what's the story there then? And now what has the SNP been up to? Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. And a big thanks to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. On reading the headline from the FT on Wednesday, you can imagine the pro-EU rejoin campaigners experiencing shivers of hope running up their spines that the financial hub in the City of London is about to collapse, and as a result, the UK would be forced back into the EU in short order. Because the FT reported that Amsterdam had dislodged the UK from its historic position as the main hub for the European market, according to data from Cboe Europe, a recognised investment exchange. And it says that €9.2 billion worth of share trading was conducted on Euronext Amsterdam every day, 4 times greater than they did in December, and now outstripping the daily volume of €8.6 billion worth done in London. You can hear the rejoiners salivating right now, can't you? Well, this FT report got some pushback, and these pushbacks put this report into perspective. Yes, the figures are correct, but the picture is vastly wider than a few shares traded in Amsterdam, as some experts have pointed out. One of these is William Wright, the founder of the new financial think tank. He put out a series of tweets, and the one that should have people realising what this grand FT headline really amounts to says, "The numbers look big, but the economic impact, at least for now, is limited. Back of the envelope estimate, €6.5 billion worth in daily trading volumes in EU equity trading switching from London translates into maybe £50 million worth in annual revenues, max £5 million in lost tax, probably less." Considering how much the city overall is worth, does this not indicate that the shift in trading patterns here is pretty negligible? And he goes on to say that where the trading is conducted has moved, but that the hedge fund and asset managers and the traders themselves haven't. And he also says that the overall trading volumes in London are roughly 75 times larger than Amsterdam and roughly 5 times as big as the whole of the EU combined. Then there's the piece in The Spectator written by Dr. Gerard Lyons, Chief Economic Strategist at NetWealth, who says, "No, Amsterdam hasn't overtaken the city." And he points out that the bulk of trading is conducted using systemic internalisers inside large London-based trading firms, with only a small part ending up on the likes of Euronext Amsterdam. And then you have to factor in the block trades and those dark pools for anonymous users. Basically, he says the same sort of thing. A small part of the trading may have moved, but the actual value behind the trades hasn't. At the end of the day, the stories of billions in trade shifting sounds huge, but has little impact. Now, Dr. Lyons says in his Spectator article that the EU is trying to put a bit of a fortress around its financial services, like the US did some decades ago, and the business ended up in London instead. And he says that this time the business might flow from the EU into the City of London. I would also point out that Brussels is a vast bureaucracy, and bureaucracies love red tape and rules, as well as the taxes to run it. And the subject of taxing financial trades keeps coming up in the EU, so that could also act as a driver taking business out of the EU and into the arms of London's finance firms. And in this vein, William Wright said in his tweets, "In the longer term, I think there is a potential risk to the EU if it is not careful in its understandable desire to develop what it calls strategic autonomy in financial services, not to be reliant on a country outside of the EU for a large part of its capital markets and finance activities. If the EU handles this in the wrong way, it may just send a message to companies and investors around the world that it is not fully open for business. That would probably have a longer-term impact on the EU on discretionary investment if a Chinese company or a Chinese bank is thinking about where it's going to invest in Europe. If the EU doesn't handle this more sensitively, in time it may see some of those discretionary investments bypassing the EU and going elsewhere. While Dr. Lyons says that the inherent characteristics of the London financial markets makes them Brexit-proof, and he would argue that Brexit has only enhanced those characteristics, so we should all be optimistic. Now, what's the SNP been up to now? Well, the Scottish Tories are accusing the SNP of underhand election tactics when they found that the domain name postalvote.scot was being used to redirect people to the SNP website postal voting page, so pushing the SNP site up the rankings, reports the Scotsman. And the Tory Scottish Chief Whip said there was a whiff of murkiness about it. The Scottish National Party, underhanded, murky? How could that possibly be? They've been a pillar of democracy and transparency over the Alex Salmond affair, haven't they? Well, not according to the pro-Scottish independence website Wings Over Scotland. Now, Wings Over Scotland says it advocates Scottish independence, but that it has absolutely no affiliation with the SNP. And this comes shining through when you read its latest article, The Law of Diminishing Returns, where it says the more you ask of the Scottish Government via a Freedom of Information request, the less you get back. All the writer, the Reverend Stuart Campbell, wanted to know, it seems, was who the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon met on the 28th of March 2018, and all he got back was reams of obfuscating paperwork. The whole saga of our months-long attempt to simply get the Scottish Government to tell us who the First Minister met on the 29th of March 2018 is a microcosm of the entire Alex Salmond affair. An original misdeed, the attempt to smear him just enough to keep him out of politics, being magnified and amplified to many times its original size and volume by the panicked, ever-spiralling attempts to cover it up, he wrote. Now, I do have to ask how the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon managed to ride so high in the stormy waters of the polls while sat in a public relations colander. And that's without the questions being asked in Wings Over Scotland regarding the whereabouts of money supposedly ring-fenced for independence campaigning ahead of a referendum. And the Tories are claiming that the SNP government is sat on an election war chest of 2.2 billion quid, money that they say should be spent urgently on small businesses for pandemic relief. Let's remember what's engraved into the Canongate wall of the Scottish Parliament building in Edinburgh, taken from a poem by Canadian Dennis Lee. It says, "Work as if you live in the early days of a better nation." Looks like the Sturgeon shower is showing us what their definition of better is. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it by following the link in the descriptions box below, and support me on Patreon or PayPal. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.